Good morning, guys. Hope you all are well. So, I figured while I have some time, I might as well just do another video, as I promised you guys that I would be touching on my life living with albinism. So, okay, where do I start? So I was born in Durban, and at that time, there was not such high hype around amniocentesis and all of those things. So both my parents are normal pigmented. In our family, there were no traces of anyone with albinism. So when I was born, it was obviously very shocking for my mom to see this child that looked so different, that looked white actually. And obviously, albinism is something that you would very rarely find amongst the Indian community. So, obviously, she was taken aback by this up until doctors had explained to her that no, your child has albinism. Albinism is a genetic disorder that occurs whereby the gene for pigment does not exist. So, for those of you who don't know what albinism is, it's actually a genetic disorder which is associated with the lack of the gene that causes you to have pigment. So, not having pigment does not only affect your skin color, it also affects your hair and your eyes. So that's why you would see I have this light pale skin color, and then my hair, the rest of it are actually tint, but all of this is my hair color that I'm born with. And then obviously the eyes, you'd also lack pigment in your eyes as a person with albinism. So there are different types. However, there's ocular cutaneous albinism type 1, which is the one that I have. It's where you're lacking pigment in your hair, skin, and eyes. And then a very rare form of albinism is ocular cutaneous albinism type 2. That's also referred to as brown albinism. So with that, you would see people have skin color, they would have hair color, but as the name suggests, ocular albinism. So it basically means that the person's eyes are only affected. So even though a person may have maybe brown eyes or maybe dark eyes, but the eyes are still affected, so they'd still have the poor eyesight. And yeah, I tell you, the eyesight thing is actually the only thing about albinism that's hard to live with, because it's really bad because it can't be corrected. Whereas if a normal pigmented person has an eye problem, they'd go to an optometrist and they would get glasses. So when they use those glasses, it corrects the vision. Some can even be corrected up to 20/20, which is normal vision. With people who have albinism, your eyesight is not able to be corrected with corrective lenses or contact lenses or any such aids. It's for some of us, it can correct it up to a certain extent, but you cannot correct it up to 2020 like you could with a normal pigmented person. So that's the challenge with living with albinism. But hey, technology is advancing, and I'm hoping that in the near future we are going to have something that would be able to correct a vision for people with albinism. So, when I was born, so at that time there were not a lot of knowledge about albinism. So it was like when people saw me, some of them had even asked my mom, you know what, your child is white. Are you sure you didn't have an affair while you were pregnant? And shame, you wouldn't blame people, because obviously this person has a child that looks so different, and knowledge was not easily available at that time about albinism. But then my mom learned so much about albinism, and she truly took care of me to the best of her ability. And as you can see, like if you look at me today, I don't have brown patches on my skin. My skin is in like great condition, and I'm fine. It's just the eyesight that's the problem, and for that I have to thank my mom. She always made sure that as a child she'd put sunblock on me. She would take me to all my eye appointments for my checkups. She would control the amount of time that I spent in the sun, because obviously when you have albinism, your skin burns so easily. You are so sensitive to the sun, so you always have to protect yourself from the sun by obviously wearing sunblock, wearing a hat, avoiding skin exposure to the sun, so like wearing long sleeve clothing where you can. And as a child, it was a bit hard to understand at first, because I would wonder why I wouldn't get sunburnt, why I would get so sunburnt and my cousins didn't, and why they could play in the sun longer and I couldn't. And beach trips used to mostly end in pain for me, because I would come home sunburnt, like really, really sunburnt. And sunburn for a person with the albinism is really painful, because we get sunburned so badly. And then I ended up actually learning to understand my condition as a child, and learning to take those precautions as I grew in order to protect myself. And in school, it was really challenging. So my mom told me that when doctors assessed me for my albinism, they said to her, your child cannot go to a normal mainstream school. Your child will have to go to a special school, because your child wouldn't manage due to her sight issues, visual impairment. And my mom just didn't take that into her mind. In her mind, she had like so much of faith in me as her child. And then she also said, no, you know what? There is God, and God performs miracles. So she prayed about it, and she continued to take the best care of me, and she made the decision to send me to a normal mainstream school with other kids. And I did attend a mainstream school all my life. Of course, at school certain things needed to be done to assist me. Like, I had to always sit right at the front of the class in order to see the chalkboard. And even sitting right at the front, I still had challenges seeing the chalkboard. So, school, I hated school because it was always a struggle for me. So, I would end up not being able to take down my notes from the blackboard and stuff because I'm not able to see it. Then I'd have to borrow kids' books, take kids' books home, then finish off the notes that I missed out on while I was in class. Then on top of that, do my homework that needed to be done. And yeah, school was a struggle. I hated school. And of course, kids can be nasty. Kids called me so many different names. They would call me white cockroach. They would say they can't touch me and can't play with me because I have a disease. There were also kids like from the black community. Some of them they would say shower, all kind of stuff in Zulu that I couldn't understand. But shame, at the end it was actually the black community that took the time to befriend me. Most of my friends in school were black kids. Some of them were like so accepting, and they would like always want to touch me and touch my skin because it was soft, and it was like I was like something that they admired. And it was so good to feel that sense of belonging from people, because people in my own community, Indian kids from my own race, didn't want to befriend me. So yeah, so I've always been very liberal. I've never had any trouble making friends with other races, being accepting of other races, other cultures, and the diversity that we have in South Africa. So after primary school, went to high school, same struggles with sight, but nonetheless, I conquered my schooling career from grade 1 to 12. In grade 12, I did so much better than kids with even normal vision. Everyone was shocked. I was even shocked myself. But it was such a proud moment for me, and for family, and most importantly for my mom, because it was so rewarding to know that she had raised me up to be the strong person that has conquered my challenges and rose above my obstacles. And I had 3 distinctions. I think it was 3 distinctions, then 3 B's, and then 1 C. In matric, I think it was over 75% aggregate. I collected some awards. I think it was for 2 subjects. I can't remember. That was back in 2008 when I matriculated, for getting the highest marks in some subjects. And yeah, so that was a big accomplishment for me, finishing school, because I didn't think I'd get there because there were so many negatives, but hey, I did it. Further along to that, I had started to study at UNISA after school. So I chose UNISA, of course, because it's distance education. So I would have like all my correspondence sent to me via post, and then I would have it at my disposal to use in a way that is comfortable for me. So, for example, if I needed to hold the book right here for me to see, it was going to be easy for me to do that because all my study material was beside me, and I wouldn't have to copy notes and stuff from the chalkboard any longer, and I was just done with that. I don't want to go back to something like that and study through a contact university. But in doing so, I actually settled for studying public administration, which was not my first choice because I wanted to study physiotherapy. Actually, I still to this day believe that that was my calling, my field of calling. But I didn't end up doing that because I didn't meet the requirements of doing physics in school, and at the time where I finished school, we didn't have all these bridging courses, like where if you didn't do a certain subject at school, you just do a bridging course and then you're admitted for the degree that you want to do. So that was a missed opportunity for me, but nonetheless, I studied public administration, got my degree in that, and then my uncle that was actually paying for my studies at UNISA, he had passed on, and I was in like my first year still of studies, I think. Then I had to apply for a NAFSAS bursary. So NAFSAS, instead of giving me a student loan, awarded me with a full bursary, which I didn't need to pay anything towards, based on my past results and the fact that I had visual impairment, which is a disability. So that worked out to my advantage because I ended up completing my degree with the aid of NAFSAS student funding. Then struggled to get a job, went on to my first job. I was a cashier. I then stopped my job to give more focus to my studies so that I can complete my degree in less time than I would if I were working and studying at the same time. Finished my degree in 2014 or 2015, and then started to do some job hunting. So for months, or I think maybe 1 or 2 years, I couldn't get any employment because it's obviously hard in this country to secure employment nowadays. Then I started working as a switchboard operator at a hotel, and it just wasn't for me because we had to work Monday to Friday, weekends, night shift, day shift, public holidays, and I just hated that. And I always prayed and prayed that I would get a 8 to 5 job, Monday to Friday, weekends and public holidays off. And so in 2017, I got another job at a parastatial institution, which I'm still in at the moment. This is my 5th year there, and I'm also a switchboard operator at this institution. And so I don't know what advancements in career-wise hold for me in the future, but hey, we'll see. Relationship-wise, okay. So in this video, we focusing more on my struggles with albinism and my experience as an Indian person with albinism. So in the next video that I'm going to make, I'm going to be giving you a little bit more insight into my personal life, the life that I've lived, the things that I went through. Yes, I think we leave that for the next video. So basically, my struggle with albinism, guys, it hasn't been a walk in the park. There are challenges, and it affected my self-confidence very, very badly, to an extent where I always thought I was ugly. I always thought negatively about myself. I always had a poor self-esteem. Just always thought negative. It took me 21 years to love myself, to find myself, to accept and embrace myself. And I'm so grateful that today I am there. I am there. I am where I never thought I'd be. I'm in a state emotionally where I never thought I'd be. And I'm just so grateful because through life there are many obstacles that one faces, and it's all about perseverance. It's all about, just keeping the faith as hard as it is, and just like believing that there is more for you than your current situation. And so, if there's anyone that has albinism that is watching my video, I want to say to you, I know what you're going through. I seriously know what you're going through. And it may seem like your struggle is never going to end, or it's never going to get easier, but believe me, it does, and it will. With the right attitude and support, it will. And luckily for me, I had an excellent family support. Like, obviously my biggest supporter was my mom from birth, but also with regards to family, I had an extremely supportive family, and they always assisted me when I couldn't do certain stuff, like driving, like getting a driver's license. I'm unable to do that because I don't meet the visual requirements to be on the road. So I cannot secure a driver's license. So my family would always like make sure I was transported to and from wherever I needed to go. For work, I made use of lift clubs. In the first job that I had as a switchboard operator, and then also my boyfriend at the time, now my husband, also assisted me a lot and made a lot of sacrifices to help me get to work in odd hours and stuff like that. So it really helps to have a good support structure, and I hope that most of you with albinism have a good support structure, because it really makes the world of difference. So as we go on, I will be telling you more about my life, more about the things I've been through, certain events. I'm sorry for the little bit of a long video, but I think I've gotten the basics about my life with albinism across to you guys. That was the aim of this video. And again, if you guys have any comments, any questions that you'd like me to answer, please feel free. So until next time, guys, always believe in yourself. Never take yourself for granted. Never take your potential for granted. And always remember that you can and you will rise above your circumstances. It's all in the power of the mind. Until my next video, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I hope you will enjoy more of my content in the future. Take care. Bye.